What's up, everybody? It's your favorite rinser and repeater's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the FansHobby Purple Power Baser. Purple People Eater, am I right? Yikes. Look, this is on loan to me from Joel W., who has been a tremendous resource, and I can't thank him enough. There's an awful lot to show here. We are going to show the transformation because the last time we started in vehicle mode as it comes packaged and went through all the modes. Today we're going to start in this combined mode and break it down into vehicle mode. So that both ways are kind of covered on my channel. If I ever look at this mold again, which I kind of hope I don't have to, it'll be in 5 minutes or less. With that being said, I know this is an older figure. We're not doing it just for the sake of doing it. FansHobby has released a new figure which can be used in concert with this figure. We're going to be looking at that tomorrow, so we don't have to do both tomorrow. We'll look at this one today, and then we'll show how the other one integrates tomorrow, and then we'll kind of check both boxes without making one video that's like an hour and a half long. This guy does come with a number of accessories. There are a number of modes to go through. It's not going to be a quick and easy review, so let's go ahead and get started, but in order to do so, we have to start with accessories. So you get these two dual side cannons as well, and the handle flips down for him to hold, and then you have the peg here. Just flat black plastic, cast well enough. These double barrel units using the peg will peg into his shoulders. He can hold those big guns by sliding it down the middle of his palm, similar to what we've seen Make Toys do in the past. Hold it just fine. For base mode, you can flip down the handle of your double-barreled weapon and swivel just the end piece of it and plug that into the side. These, using this peg, will tab in to the side of the trailer using that hole. And you get two of these huge mega I'm gonna blow your head off cannons, and you have a tab here. This will flip down to reveal a longer handle for him to hold, and the barrel will also separate from the rest of it. No paint accents, which is a bummer because there's a lot of good sculpted detail here, but it's just this flat black plastic. Oh, this comes apart as well, the top scope piece. He'll hold the large rifle with the slotted system in the same way as Make Toys used to do it, by just sliding it down the center of his palm. No issues. He can hold the long rifle by sliding it down the middle of his palm as well. However, it is big, so you're gonna lose some kind of articulation points with it, but you can do it. You can also split this apart, decide whether or not you want to keep this on or not, extend the stock here, and then slide that into his hand for a smaller, perhaps more proportionate weapon. The smaller weapon will also slide down in his hand, no issues, but it doesn't quite look as cool or appropriate with the kind of fully combined form, so I'd advise against it personally, but that's up to you. You can use your long weapon, split it apart, keep that collapsed, extend the barrel, and plug that into the top portion here. Then you can take the leftover barrel and wedge that into this little cutout here. Those will plug into the top of the trailer by taking the tab and sliding them into the notch there. You get the Power Master. We have the nice chrome on the piece here, which looks good in truck mode, I would imagine. Then we have the silver paint on the feet, or the feet, as I should say, and looks nice enough. We'll go ahead and get him transformed. There's not a whole lot to it. Just disconnect the legs from the shoulders, bring them down and around, and then you have the arms out like this. For the head, it does swivel, and you have silver paint and red paint there for the eyes. Then you have the silver paint on the chest, you have silver paint on the knees and feet, and then you have silver paint on the forearms. The arms plug into the chest on a ball peg. You can get it up to about there and up to about here. Then the elbows have a little bit of a hinge, which gets you slightly, and then you have basically a peg here. These are basically like New Age Megatron's hips. There's a peg that goes up into the chest that comes down to a hinge, which basically acts as a universal, like a Y-pegged universal, so you can get it out around to the side, etc. And then a knee bend at a past 90 degrees. So all in all, decent enough little fella, but you know, nothing to write home about, but neither should we expect it to be, just sort of good enough, which is perfect. Using these two notches, you can plug that in to the front of the cab. It'll also peg into the chest when using the Power Master Prime mode, so there's that option as well. So I want to talk about this. He comes with this matrix of leadership, and it's really well packaged. It's a nice little box. It makes it feel like a jewelry. It makes it feel more special than what it is. Honestly, like, you know, I'm not crazy about getting the matrix with every figure. I feel like I got a bucket full of like 30 die-cast matrix, but I do like this. It's a black plastic box. You push on the matrix, and then this slides out, which reveals the kind of shattered glass matrix. It has the purple you know, kind of translucent stone looking thing inside, and then the kind of onyx around it with it's just really well packaged. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I enjoy it because it makes it seem special. That's the only way I know how to describe it, but I like stuff like this. And look, before we get into this review, I just wanted to show you what he looked like all armored up. You'll see it more in the final thoughts, but I think it's worthwhile looking at it before we get started. Alright, so let's get started, and I want to say that first and foremost, the proportions work well for me. I mean, he is a thick old boy, but the overall presentation does work for me. And one of the things that I noticed first and foremost, and I'll probably mention 1,000 times during this review just because it's my nature, is all of the weathering paint. It's a slight dry brush of silver paint. It is throughout. This is what the Siege stuff should have looked like. You'll probably see it, and I'll probably comment on it 1,000 times throughout. But here we go. We're going to do this the best that we can. I'm not sure. I also want to say this. I don't think this is entirely put together perfectly. That is a pain. It was a pain with the first release. It continues to be a pain, at least for me, with this release. This is on loan to me from Joel, so I don't want to force anything, especially with after my hound situation. I'm kind of in self-protection mode, so I'm being extra careful. Let's talk about it, though. So the head, we have the silver paint, we have the red metallic eyes. It looks beautiful, plus the silver details and the dry brushing. The head gets up to there, so decent. Down, it just came untabbed. And side to side, confused dog look, all of that works. While we're right here, we also have a waist swivel. The hip skirts do move with it, but they will naturally kind of get out of the way, as you just saw, so no issues there, no ab crunch. We have a shoulder universal. It's ratcheted all the way around. It's ratcheted out to the side. You can also untab this from here and get more of an extreme pose if your little heart desires. We also have the silver paint here and the black paint and the kind of weathering throughout. We have a bicep swivel. We have a double jointed elbow with a soft ratchet and a hard ratchet. Really well done. We have a wrist swivel. The fingers are all individually articulated, pinned at the base pin knuckle, and then the secondary and tertiary, not sure what that is, knuckle for full finger articulation. The thumb is on a ball peg. That'll swivel out to the side, not sure if you can see that, or up to the front. Plus you have an additional hinge at the first knuckle of the thumb. The hips are ratcheted universals. We're going to get these out of the way for now. For basically the full Van Damme out to the side on soft ratchets. Not sure what that was. Oh, his face. That's an issue. Let's talk about that right now. So one thing that I noticed about this is that there are some places where there are no pins and there should be. For instance, this headpiece, so to speak, is just sort of tabbed in together. There's also electronics in the head. I guess there's a place for a battery in there that I'm not aware of. And then the face just sort of pins on as well. The eyes are painted though, so I'm not sure how the electronics would work in the first place, but they are there, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like it probably should have been screwed together. However, I guess if they were relying on the electronics feature, it would have been convenient for them not to be. So I guess I can understand. Hard ratchets forward and back for basically the full Monty. We have a thigh swivel built at the bottom of the universal, so no issues there. We also have the gold paint on the crotch, which looks good. The knees, double jointed and ratcheted to get you the full run, which is nuts and cool. We have the little anniversary thing there. It's like a part of the release of this guy. This is something new, and we'll talk about it a bit another time, towards the final thoughts. So we have the gold and silver, or silver and gold. Down at the bottom, the silver paint here, the black and gold paint there. The ankles are well done. You get an ankle tilt down, an ankle tilt up. They're slight on both sides, but it is a lot of bot. And let's show you that a little bit better. A significant rocker. Not crazy, but should get the job done. I haven't had any problems while posing him. And then I'll show him to you from the back before we get into size comparisons. And he's pretty clean, you know? Obviously he's got the backpack because he's got the whole truck sitting in him, but that's part of the job description, right? So I get it. Size comparison wise, there he is with Magic Square Prime and a Masterpiece car to kind of give you an idea. Like he's a big old boy. And actually, while we're speaking of big boys, my buddy Jisk, you probably know him from 4 Dummies. He's been sending me this fat squirrel over and over and over again. Let's see if we can't.
Damn, boy. him, boy! He's thick! Boy! That's a thick-ass boy!
That is funny. So the first thing we're going to want to do is unlatch all of this stuff to get the bot out. It shouldn't be so difficult because it's probably not in there right. So flip out these pieces here on the side, flip the head out, get it between the feet. And on the back side, you can disconnect this, untab these two pieces, bring the entire trailer piece down, which should allow you, in theory, to slide out the truck. So rotate the head around 180, and then you can kind of collapse this and just keep the head sort of tucked away for now. We can close these up, open up your flaps here, tuck your hands in and close them up on both sides. No problem. Easy for me to say. All right. Let's not get off on a rocky road. All right. And then straighten them and have them facing up. And then rotate these. You can go ahead and rotate these up now as well. You want to bring this heel up and sort of collapse it in this little pocket and then slide the foot back. That'll put everything in line. Now, for this little flap here, it's on a slider. You want to kind of open it up, slide it up, and face it around and then bend it so that there's like an L shaping towards the outside. And we're gonna do that again. We're going to push the heel up, slide the foot back to kind of encompass it, and then line it all up the best we can. Open this piece up, slide it, and then flip it out and around so that the flap is facing towards the outside. For the wheels, you wanna take your fender piece, rotate it 180 degrees basically, and also get it up and over the tires as like a guard that sits on top. Collapse the tires and then flip this little triangle piece up. Same for the other side. We're going to rotate 180, sit it up on top of the tires. It's a tight little tolerance. You kind of got to do it just right. Collapse the tires. Another piece doesn't move quite as smoothly as you would like, and then flip this piece up. So it's already started coming apart. Flip these open and bring your heels out. And then you can close the feet. This I did have at one point sitting over top of these flaps, but bring your legs down and then close up these flaps on the back of the legs. Sheesh. You can then bring your chest piece up, give yourself as much room as you can. You can bring your hip skirts, actually, you know what, spin at the waist 180, and then bring your hip skirts out and around. This is an easy piece to forget, but there you go. Flip these pieces here up. They are interlocking pieces, and then open up your arms here and you can flip them down. Open up this piece here, flip the head out, close this flap, and as you do so, push down on the grill of the truck. You might need a spudger to do so, but close this back up and then collapse the shoulders. Bring the arms down, spin them around, open up, flip the hand out, close up. Same for the other side, and I will clean him up and we will take a look at him. So let's talk about the figure. The head is nicely painted in regards to the silver and then the red metallic eyes. I do think, as usual, the proportions of this head are off. I feel like the eyes sit a little too lower on the head, which causes for too small of a lower portion of the face, and then the upper portion is too big. I just feel like it is just not right. You know, I feel like the eyes should be about where the brim is of the helmet. Now, that may not bother some people. It bothers me. All right. So the head is on a ball peg. You get up to there, you get down to there, which is nice. And you get the spin, confused dog look, etc., etc. Good to go. On the body, we have the same sort of, weathering. It's like a kind of a heavy-handed dry brush approach, but it looks good enough. It's there, it's there, it's there. Plus we have some gold and even a really tight silver paint line around that windshield, which looks sharp as a tack. For the, we'll go ahead and do this. The waist has a swivel. It also has an ab crunch significantly down, and back. When you do the back, you lose a significant amount of the sculpt, so that's up to you. But you could probably fake it for a picture or something. All right, so we have a fake butterfly joint. You know, it's not intended, and it'll throw off the look tremendously, but you can probably cheat it for a picture. For the shoulder, we have a ratcheted swivel, and then we have a hinge, so basically a universal. That'll get you up to there, so really well done. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, gold paint there, black paint there, plus the weathering on the sides. Wrist swivel, fingers on a base pin knuckle. Ooh. That's not good. So we'll put that back together. So be careful. Fingers are pinned at the same base pin knuckle, and then you have an additional hinge at the first knuckle, which is kind of a weird choice. It probably would have been better at the second knuckle, and this hand does not want to stay in. So that's an issue. Legit. All right. Same for the other side. We have hips, and they don't lie. We have hip skirts, heavy dry brush, kind of weathering effect with the gold paint on it. Ratcheted out to the side for pretty much the full Van Damme. And if we spin the hip skirts up, which are on ball pegs, forward and back for pretty much the full Monty as well. And they're ratcheted, which is nice. Thigh swivel. Knee, single hinge, gets you 90 degrees. Tons of paint. We have the same weathering effect on the thighs. We have the Tampo paint on the shins here, and then the gold, the black paint, tons of weathering. Looks great. Ankles. I don't think it's a tilt at all, honestly. Maybe slight tilt up, great tilt down, tremendous rocker. There he is from the back, little flat back, but you know, not the biggest deal in the world. There's a size comparison with Magic Square Prime and an MP car, so he's pretty much the same size as a Masterpiece Prime. So there's base mode. It's, you know, look, I'm one of those guys that kind of likes base modes. They're always sort of suggestive and abstract, but I also feel like it doesn't take much to kind of make them feel successful or visually interesting. And I don't think this one's any different in that regard. It looks pretty cool. The little caution stripes on the forearms add to the aesthetic of it, as well as the caution stripes at the front of the trailer here add to the aesthetic. The weathering comes through still. I think it looks like a decent enough little battle station. Like, I'm generally fine with it, but I'm also admittedly I'm easy to please in this regard. So let's get him back into truck mode. So let's get it transformed. Take these side flaps here, get them up and out of the way, and then bring your shoulders pieces up, and you can spin them to the outside to get them out of the way. Untab these panels from the side of this piece and just swing them back around and kind of get them roughly in position. We'll fix them once we have a better sort of view on them. At this point, you can kind of secure these panels, make sure that they're secure. You can bring these up, interlock them, swing them back around, and then you can bring up this back panel, which you'll tab in and bring Prime's head back down. There's two tabs on the neck plate that tab into these two positions in the shoulder, and then flip these two pieces around. Pull the wheels away from the base and then flip the wheel well up and close it in. Same for the other side. Pull away and flip the fender or wheel well up. Bring your legs down and straighten them. You can have these release buttons. You can flip this piece out as well. These release buttons are in here. These actually do work well, so that's nice. This piece will flip out and about as well. Just make sure that that's lined up. And flip this and collapse. And then bring them together. You want to make sure that this panel and this panel down here kind of align as you tab it all together. Finally, you want to close up these flaps. Obviously, this one has to go down first, and just line it up. Same for this side, and they'll interlock into all of these places. I'm not going to waste too much time on it, but I do want you to see where they have to go. Let me see if I can't just finagle a bit. So that's close. And then close up these little wings on the side if they haven't already closed up. One there and one there. Open up the flap at the bottom, tuck his fist in, close it back up. Same for the other side. Flap at the bottom, tuck his fist in, close it back up. Extend the waist. For the arms, make sure that this piece is flipped up. Rotate at the bicep so that the elbow is facing the opposite direction, and then plug that back in to the top of the shoulder, and then unpeg it from the side of the truck. So same here. Open, spin, up, peg in, open. To make the head go away, you want to open up the chest, tuck the head in. As you bring the chest back up, you want to make sure that this flap for one, which is very loose, as you can see, make sure that that's up, and then also push in the grill so that it'll all close up nicely. The wheels are double hinged up inside of the body. You just got to get a grip on them and then bring them down so they align with the cab of the vehicle. Now, this is a part that's easy to forget, but you got to tuck in these hip skirts so that the hinge is facing towards you. Then you have to collapse the legs. It's just best if you open up this panel here, and you can open up this rear panel. There's a release button, but it's very finicky. It was on the other one as well, but that will help a great deal, and then wrap all that, actually keep this one up. So do the same on this side, open up this panel, open up this panel, use your release button, slide it up, and then you can start bringing these together, and you close the panel in the back. Then for the feet, you open up this panel, put the heel inside, close the panel, bring the foot down, and line it up so that this piece pegs in to there. Same for the other side. Open up this panel here, slide the heel in, close this panel, align this, and peg it in to the shin. So at this point, you can kind of wrap the truck back upon itself and plug it in as you do so to the back of the vehicle. Interlock these two pieces, so this piece flips down and then this piece flips down. That'll help also keep it all tight. And finally, unpeg these two doors here and wrap it around. Wrap it around. I'll clean it up, we'll take a look at it. Let's talk about it. It rolls like a champ, so no issues there. The piece that connects to the cab will swivel at the bottom so that you can maneuver the trailer around. You've got some nice, like, Tampo paint, this Cybertronian writing here, as well as some weathering throughout, which is a nice touch, and they didn't have to do that, but I like it. The weathering paint is just, it comes through in every mode. Do you know what I mean? We had the Till All Are Gone, not lost on me, a nice little touch there. The silver and gold paint, or silver and gold paint here is done well enough, and then we have the kind of accents here. I don't think that this shattered glass, so to speak, comes through very well here. This kind of looks sloppy and childish. It's the paint is too thick and it doesn't really do the job. But sitting alongside like the dry brushing stuff that they did effects wise, it all kind of works. I do like the deco, the green. You know, I gotta say, I like the deco of the Shattered Glass Prime an awful lot, like the purple and dark gray. It just seems to work for me. Along with some green accents here. The way the windshield shows with the silver behind it, the yellow translucent, like, it's a pretty looking thing. Like, it's a well designed aesthetic thing overall. So I dig that. I think they did a decent enough job. And there it is with Tiger Tracks. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives. No pins in the hand for the base knuckle. That's a mistake. That shouldn't be done that way. The fingers kept popping off as you saw. They can do better, point blank. That's not a matter of engineering getting in the way of anything. That's a matter of saving cost and materials. And production, or assembly rather. What else do I got? You can also kind of apply that to the prime head. However, I'm a little bit more forgiving of that because it may in fact be due to convenience for the consumer to access the electronics. In which case, I'll give them a pass. And as I mentioned before, the proportions of the Prime's head, it throws me for a loop. I just think it's off. And I think it's a sculpt issue. I don't necessarily think there's anything inherently about it that should cause it to look the way it does. I think it's just not the best in that regard. I also think, and this could definitely be operator error, I'm willing to accept that, but my personal opinion is that there is a better way to get this stuff to combine, and they were not able to find it. Because it is a pain to try to get it connected. I think I had the head tabbed in properly once or twice. I had the neck flaps, I think, tabbed in properly once or twice. Like, it's just not user-friendly in that regard. There are plenty of positives though. I have to first and foremost state once again that the paint, the weathering is done beautifully. It gives this figure a ton of character. Works very well. It's also sculpted very well with the exception of the head for the smaller robot. I just can't get into it. And you know, when I was looking at the original version, the proportions bothered me and I thought he looked a little dumpy. For whatever reason, it doesn't bother me as much now. Maybe my tastes have changed. Maybe I've grown, changed, evolved, or maybe I've become more accepting. I'm not exactly sure. I like that the accessories are all inclusive. I do wish they had more flair on them. They do look like cheap black plastic. Not that it is, but it looks that way. And speaking of plastic, that's one thing we got to talk about. Coming right off of that Hound figure, it felt great to handle a figure that felt so robust in terms of plastic. Like, I feel like I could have beat this thing against the wall and nothing would have changed about it. That's nice to feel. Also, in the same breath, tons of hardware, which we haven't felt in a while, and it's all there and done well. It has a strong presence, due to its size mostly, and I think the alt mode overall works, so I can recommend this if you're into the deco or you're kind of into the character, but other than that, there's not a whole lot new to write home about. It's just sort of business as usual, and the mold sort of holds up the same. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.